Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon. Whatever time you're watching this video, we are going to do the lesson, A Letter to God. This is from your book, First Flight. And a very surprising title, isn't it? You might think, what is this, A Letter to God? Well, they say, faith can move mountains. So before I talk about what this lesson is about, I want to discuss about this one proverb that you know, that faith can move mountains. So do you think that you just need a little bit more strength and you would push and push and push and the huge mountain would simply move? No. So what exactly this means? It means that if you believe in yourself, if you believe that you can do this task, then yes, anything that you have thought not possible to do would be possible. That is exactly the meaning of faith can move mountains. Now, how does this proverb find a true meaning in this lesson? We will see. So we are all going to open our page where the lesson begins. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lenjo, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So we are talking about a guy, I think now the picture is very clear to you in your mind, that we are talking about a guy who is a farmer and he is looking up at the sky because he's waiting for the rain to fall. So he thinks either it should be a heavy downpour, you know, the rain should be falling in a heavy stream, or even a little bit of shower will do, but whatever, rain is definitely required. And when he says dotted with the flowers, what do you mean by dotted with the flowers? Did somebody go and put some dots over there? Of course not. You know, there are several things that an author tells you without actually writing, and he expects you to understand just by reading. So you know, there are so many things that he has given you. So there are so many clues that he's giving you. He's telling you, he told you that the house is very high up on the hill, but then he is telling you without actually saying so in those words how high it is. Because from the point where the farmer Lencho is standing, the flowers are looking like tiny, tiny dots. Now it's up to you to imagine how high the hill is and how high the house is positioned on the hill. So we now know that he is expecting some rain, at least some kind of rain. But he also says he knew his fields intimately. Intimately? Wow. So everybody's, you know, all those antennas are up. I know. See, you young guys, you always think about those things, yeah? But he doesn't mean like that. He's talking about knowing every bit of the field, knowing what type of the soil it is, what, where, what kind of a crop is going to grow, and how he's going to plant them, what are the fertilizers that are required, if so, or the manure, or where is the soil deficient in certain things, or where the soil is of very good quality, where the quality is not so good. That is what he means by knowing his field intimately. Now, we are really going to get some water, woman. The woman who was preparing supper replied, "Yes, God willing." The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, "Come for dinner." Now again, the author, in his very typical style, has not told you how many children he had. He is not telling you whether this woman who's over there is his wife or not, but then he's leaving it to your imagination that yes, this woman could be his wife. She's cooking his supper, and he has more than 2 children, because the older ones, they are already working somewhere in the field, and the younger ones, they are playing near the house. So now it's time for dinner. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, "These aren't raindrops falling from the sky, these are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are 5s." Now, students, we are already, the month is the rainy season right now. And I know, how does it feel to have the rain falling on you? And all those children who have been, you have loved going out in the rain, and your mother has been screaming at you that you're going to get, sick, or you're bringing muddy shoes and muddy stuff inside the house. Still, I know that you people do enjoy being drenched in the rain, just for the pleasure of being out in the rain, the raindrops falling and so forth. So this is exactly what Lencho felt at that moment. He wanted the rain, yes, of course, for his crops, but also because he just wanted to feel it. And then look at what he is saying. He's comparing their size to the 2 coins, the new ones and the old ones. So we are also given to understand that recently probably the treasury must have come out with some new coins. So he's comparing the big raindrops with the new coins. They are so big, they are so fresh, they are shining, and he is comparing the little ones to the 5 coins, 5-cent coins. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. Look at the beauty of the line. Look at the beauty of the poetic device that the author is using. Curtain of rain. Wow. I mean, we've seen curtains at our windows, at our doors, but a curtain of rain, just imagine. This author is about to stir your imagination like anything. This author wants you to imagine what a beautiful rainfall it is, and how heavy or how light it is, that it is appearing to be like a curtain. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. So now what has happened? The rain has turned into hailstorm, and we all know how a hailstorm looks like. And when we hear it falling near our house, we definitely go out. In fact, we even rush out to pick it up. So these young boys, they went out in the rain and they collected them. Look at the author again. So frozen pearls. Look at how the author is, he's stirring your imagination. He's giving you an idea of how these hailstones look like. They resemble pearls that have been frozen for a long time. And you can immediately think, oh, this is how the hailstone looks like. See, this is the beauty of the author's writing. A good author not only tells you a good story, but it stirs your imagination in such a manner that you can add several lines to it on your own. Let's proceed. "It's getting really bad now," exclaimed the man. "I hope it passes quickly." It did not pass quickly. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white as if covered with salt. Again, imagery is being created. The author is asking you to imagine how much of the hail has fallen, that it looks like somebody has just dropped a lot of salt. It has simply covered the entire area with lots of packets of salt. So you can just imagine how would that area look like. This is exactly how this is looking like. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, A plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn. I believe we have all heard about locusts, and it was in news recently. So these are those tiny insects which they fly in huge group, and the collection of or the group of these insects are called as swarms, right? So these locusts, they fly in swarms, and they literally devour everything that's there in the field. But still Lencho was saying that even if this swarm had attacked his field, they would have left at least something. But this hail has left absolutely nothing. So you can just imagine what is his condition right now, as he sadly says, this year there will be no corn. That night was a sorrowful one. All our work for nothing. There is no one who can help us. We'll all go hungry this year. And isn't that what we all also go through? There are times when we feel, well, we work so hard, and what's the result? We look at the result and then we keep saying, all this hard work, it just went in vain. I wish we hadn't worked hard, or we feel so sad inside that we had put in such a lot of effort in it, and yet what happened? So now just look at this farmer. It's his daily bread, this is how he earns his bread, and everything is gone. There's nothing remaining. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope: help from God. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say, no one dies of hunger. So despite all his misfortune, Lencho has this faith that come what may, we are not going to die of hunger. All through the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Remember, we have been told since we were small kids that God watches everything. And whatever you do, there are two people who know about it: you yourself and definitely God. So this is what Lencho also had been taught, that whatever you are doing, even if it is here, deep here, you've hidden it, covered it, and done everything so that nobody gets to hear about it, know about it, you've never uttered it in your life, then also God, He knows everything. Lencho was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. So this is again a figure of speech, and I'm sure you know this, and we are definitely going to discuss this once we finish this lesson. So it is comparing Lencho that he is like an ox. When he's in the field, he's as hardworking as, he's full of strength as a bull is in the field, but yet he knows how to write. So probably during those days, anybody who was involved in manual labor, probably they did not know how to read and write, but Lencho knew how to read as well as to write. The following Sunday at daybreak, he began to write a letter, which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. Now children, you are going to find it very, very difficult to understand this. What is this letter writing? What is this mail? And why do you have to go to town? Because you guys, you open your systems, not even your systems now. You just open your mobile, you do cut, tap, and that's it. Your letter is done and you email it. And within a matter of few seconds, it is received and you receive an answer back as well. But sir, those were different times, You had to actually get a letter, you had to write it with your own hand, you had to fold it, put it in an envelope, you had to go to a post office, you had to buy a stamp, fix it, and then there was a different kind of a box where you had to put it in, and then regularly at different intervals of time, this man who was called as a postman would come, he would open it. So the postman then unlocks the door, takes out all the letters, then he would go to the office where he would deposit it, and then there would be a lot of other people who would do the work of sorting as to where it has to be sent and so forth. It used to be, there was a whole procedure that used to be followed, and a letter used to take a week or something like that to reach the destination, even more. And then again, to receive a reply, you had to wait for a week more. So that is how the letters were sent, or messages were sent across to and fro. So this is something that you don't know. God, but yes, he wrote, "If you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes. Because the hailstorm." He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. Now, pesos, it's the currency of several Latin American countries. So he needed at least 100 of them so that, he could tide over the year. He could even grow his crops next year. So he needed only that much. And look how nice he is, how contented kind of a person he is, that he's asking only for what he really needs and not for luxuries, One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss, laughing heartily, and showed him the letter to God. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, also broke out laughing. Now, amiable means friendly. But almost immediately he turned serious and, tapping the letter on his desk, commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter. Starting up a correspondence with God? I mean, like starting up a communication channel with God? This man had to have a faith that is beyond compare." So in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea. Answer the letter. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill: ink and paper. But he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos, so he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature: God. Now look, doesn't it tell you that humanity exists everywhere? That people, no matter how bad your situation would be, or how bad you think the world, or how wicked the world is, there are still some people who would do anything if it is in their power to do something for you. And this postmaster is a very good example of that. So when he reads the letter and he finds out that the farmer is facing such a huge difficulty, he realizes he won't be able to help him cover the entire cost, of course. But does that stop him from helping? Does that tell him, I cannot do I cannot cover all of his expenses, so let me not do anything? No. He says, even if I can do a little bit, tiny bit, I will still do it. So they are not able to collect the entire 100 pesos, but at least they are able to collect a little bit more than half. And we'll come to know in our last para exactly how much they collect. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed. This happens with us also. We do something for someone and we wait for that someone to feel a lot of gratitude for us. And we feel so good from deep within. We don't think that once we have done the good deed, that's the end of it. No. We want to listen to how good a deed we had done. and then feel very happy about it. And we keep telling you, wow, this is how I did. And this is exactly the feeling that the postmaster had. He was waiting from some words of praises. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Such was his confidence. But he became angry when he counted the money. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lencho what he had requested. Look at this. He knows, he realizes, he believes that no matter what, come what may, God will never deny his request, and God cannot be dishonest. God is never going to give him less than he asks. He thinks and he feels and he has this faith that God is always going to give more than what he has asked for. So, who is the culprit here? Immediately, Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. On the public writing table, he started to write, with much wrinkling of his brow, caused by the effort he had to make to express his idea. See, this is what happens when we want to write something and we are, very agitated, we are very angry, or we are in a lot of emotion, then it starts showing on our face, and that is exactly what has happened with Lencho. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp, which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. Look at his anger. He's doing like that, he's not happy, satisfied with just pasting it, affixing it, he is bumping his fist also, so that it's done paka work. So nobody, it wouldn't go here and there, there would be no chance of it missing. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it. It said, now what would the postmaster expect? Obviously words of praises, compliments. Instead, what happened? Let's look. God, of the money that I had asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Lencho. What a fabulous ending to the story. So, there is a lesson for all of us in it. All of us who think that we do charity, we are doing something, very, very great, and people should be forever indebted to us. They should be grateful to us forever. That is lesson number one. Once we do the good work, that's where it should end. We should not expect praises, compliments being showered on us from all sides, because that defeats the very purpose of that good work. And secondly, look at the faith that Lencho had. He knew that God could not be wrong. Humans, yes, they could be wrong, but God could not be wrong. God definitely sent the 100 pesos. It's the humans who have done this. So it tells that the humans are the ones who do all the wicked things. So it tells us that we must have a faith as strong as he had. But, doesn't it also tell us that Lencho probably did not have any faith in the humans? He was, he just thought, yes, obviously these people must have taken away things. We have to have faith on the Lord Almighty. And that is what this lesson is all about. Trust in your hard work. But if misfortune strikes, do not feel that everything is lost. Trust that it is for your own good. Trust that there is a divine being whose plans are far better than what we would have, and that if you need help, he is going to send help in the form of n number of things. It's not like he's going to come from above in a shining light, lights blazing and blah blah blah. No. He might send a very simple person like this boss of the post office or a postman, or it could be anybody. But help would definitely reach you. So children, next time you face adverse conditions, you face difficult times, and you think, oh, I've lost everything, remember, faith can move mountains.